In a small, quiet town, there stood an old middle school that had been around for decades. From the outside, it looked ordinary enough. The faded white walls, a wide courtyard where children ran every morning, and the ringing of the school bell breaking the silence to mark the start of classes. But behind that routine, the school kept something that was never fully understood by either the students or the teachers. At the far back of the school grounds stood an abandoned building. It had been locked tightly for as long as anyone could remember. Teachers only gave the same simple explanation. That's the old building. It's unsafe and unfit for use. But among the students, darker stories spread. They swore they often heard dragging footsteps, faint whispers, and even weeping from inside the building, especially when the sun was setting and the shadows of trees stretched long across the cracked walls. At first, it all sounded like a typical myth, a scary story invented to stop children from wandering too far. But everything changed when a second-year student named Andy really did vanish inside that school. The last day Andy was seen seemed completely ordinary. He came in early, joked with his friends, and even played soccer on the field during recess. Nothing seemed strange. But when the final bell rang, Andy never left with the others. His close friend, Raka, said Andy had told him he wanted to go back to the library to fetch something he had forgotten. Raka waited for almost 15 minutes, but Andy never came back. That evening, when Andy still hadn't arrived home, his parents panicked and rushed to the school with some teachers. What they found was chilling. Andy's bag, shoes, and books were still in his classroom. It was as if he had just left them there and vanished. The police were called in, and they checked the school's CCTV footage. That was when the mystery deepened. On the camera in the second-floor hallway, Andy could be seen walking alone. He looked hesitant, occasionally glancing back, as though someone was calling his name. Then he headed toward the old abandoned building at the far back.
Strangely, the door, supposedly locked for years, was slightly ajar, almost as if it was waiting for him. Andy stepped inside. The moment he did, the recording turned to static. The screen filled with black and white noise, as though the signal had been violently disrupted. After that, all the files from that hour onward were gone, as if erased. The next day, a massive search took place. Teachers, police, and even townsfolk combed the area. The locked door of the old building was forced open. From outside, it looked dead, paint peeling, broken windows, and a rusted frame. Inside, the air was freezing cold, heavy with dust and suffocatingly stale. Old desks were broken and scattered, chalkboards cracked, and the smell of rot hung in the air. No sign of Andy. But in the farthest room at the corner, something terrifying awaited them. On the wall above a chalkboard, written in large letters, were the words, "One has entered. Who will be next?" It wasn't chalk. The color was dark red, thick and sticky, like dried blood. Everyone froze. Some covered their mouths to stop from gagging. Fear spread through the school like wildfire. From that day on, everything changed. Students were terrified. Some parents pulled their children out entirely. Teachers banned anyone from going near the old building. But curiosity only grew. Students whispered that they had seen a small figure in the second-floor windows of the abandoned block. Sometimes faint laughter echoed from inside, sometimes sobbing. Raka, Andy's closest friend, was the most shaken. Guilt consumed him. He regretted not following Andy that last time. What haunted him even more was something Andy had told him the day before he disappeared. On his way home from tutoring, Andy confessed that he kept hearing a voice from inside the old building, a voice that clearly called his name. "Andy, come in. I'm waiting for you." At first, he thought it was his imagination, but the voice grew stronger, clearer, and then the dreams began. Every night, Andy dreamed he was standing at the door of that old building, and in the shadows, a figure waved at him. Days after the search ended, the police found Andy's personal diary in his desk drawer. The final entry froze everyone's blood. "I know I'm not supposed to go into that building, but he said if I don't come, he'll take Raka instead. So if I don't come back, don't ever let that door stay open." Rumors exploded after that. Some claimed the old building was once used to isolate a troubled student who died tragically. Others whispered there had been a fire and several children had burned alive, but the school had covered it up. Nobody knew the truth. Time passed, but disturbances grew worse. A night guard swore he saw a child running in the back corridor long after everyone had gone home. When he chased, the child disappeared right in front of the old building's door. Another teacher admitted she heard footsteps above her when she was on late duty, though the upper floors were completely empty. Raka, still consumed by guilt, couldn't let go. One night, unable to sleep, he snuck back into the school. With only a flashlight in hand, he climbed over the back fence. The campus was eerily silent, only the sound of crickets and the rustling of leaves in the wind. His chest pounded as he approached the old building. From a distance, he froze. The door, sealed shut months ago, was open just a crack. From inside came a voice. "Andy, help me."
It was unmistakable. Andy's voice. Raka's breath caught. His hand shook as he pushed the door open wider. The cold air rushed out, so sharp it raised goosebumps all over his skin. Dust swirled in the beam of his trembling flashlight. He stepped inside. Old desks leaned against each other. Broken windows rattled with the wind, and in the corner of the room, he saw a small figure standing with its back to him. "Andy?" Raka whispered. The figure slowly turned. The uniform was torn and dirty. The face was pale, eyes hollow black voids. The lips moved, but the voice that came out was not Andy's. It was deep, rough, guttural, something inhuman. "You are next." Raka's flashlight flickered and died. Darkness swallowed the room. His heart nearly stopped as he turned and sprinted blindly, crashing into broken furniture, scraping his legs until he found the door and hurled himself outside. He didn't dare look back. He ran until his lungs burned, until he was outside the gates, trembling violently. That night, he told no one what he saw. Days later, the school sealed the building permanently. They bricked up the doors and windows with concrete. It was as though the place had been erased. But even walls couldn't contain what was inside. Students swore they could still hear knocking from within the bricked walls. Some even claimed to see pale hands pressing out of cracks in the concrete, trying to escape. And every now and then, a child walking past the back of the school would feel a whisper against their ear. A whisper that always said the same thing. "Andy hasn't come home yet. Please find me." To this day, no one knows what truly happened to Andy. Did he vanish forever? Or is he still trapped inside that darkness with something that was never meant to exist in our world? What everyone agrees on is one thing. If you ever hear your name being called from a deserted place, never answer, because it might not be a human voice at all. If you're one day in an empty school and you hear a voice calling your name, don't ever turn around, because once you respond, you might never come back.